Mr. Pullen, the next item, and Mr. Hollis, the next item before the council is a matter dealing with the council comment on the Talbot Boys statute. This goes back into 2015 when the council was approached by the local NAACP, I believe back in June or July, no, July, it had to be July because the unfortunate circumstances that brought this to our attention took place on June 17th of last year. So in July of last year, we met with members of the NAACP. They had a number of recommendations they wanted council to consider surrounding the Talbot Boys statute. So if we could, Mr. Pullen, I would like for you just to give a brief historical background as to what led us back here today at this juncture on this subject.
Thank you, Mr. Pack, for the opportunity to provide some really brief historical background. The statute is listed as a historical object by the Maryland Historical Trust, and as such it cannot be changed or removed without permission from the Easton Historic District Commission. The Talbot County Courthouse is also a historical site, and any change to the courthouse grounds also requires permission from the Easton Historic District Commission. And then finally, both the building and grounds are located in the Easton Historic District, which is also subject to the jurisdiction of the Easton Historic District Commission. The Maryland Historical Trust describes the monument's historical significance like this, and this is a quote from their records. At the Battle of Gettysburg, the Union's 1st Eastern Shore Regiment included men of Trapp's Company H, who were sent to Culp's Hill, which was at the north end of the Union line, on July 3rd, 1863. There they fought troops of the 1st Maryland Confederate Regiment, which also included men from the Trapp area. The color sergeants for each side were cousins, both from Trapp. Robert W. Ross for the Union and P.M. Moore fatally wounded for the Confederates. So the Union victory at Culp's Hill on the morning of July 3rd at Gettysburg by Union men from Talbot County fighting their Confederate family members and friends precipitated General Lee's attack later that day on the Union Center, which came to be known as Pickett's Charge. Pickett's Charge ended the Battle of Gettysburg and effectively turned the tide of the war in favor of the Union. In 1914, the county commissioners agreed to accept both the Confederate and Union memorials on the courthouse lawn to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the end of the Civil War. And again, the Maryland Historical Trust describes how the existing monument came about and why there is no Union memorial. And this is also a quote from their records. The monument was sponsored by a committee formed in 1913, chaired by General Joseph B. Stein. After consideration of a statute of local Admiral Franklin Buchanan, who was a Talbot County resident and commander of the Confederate Navy, it was agreed to honor, quote, all the boys in gray. The base was erected in July 1914. The statue was dedicated in June 1916. And efforts in 1914 to raise funds for a Union monument were unsuccessful. So in July of last year, the NAACP asked the council to remove the statue from the courthouse lawn and place it in a more appropriate setting, and to commission a group of Talbot County citizens to discuss the erection of a new statute that would be inclusive of both Union and Confederate soldiers. On July 29th of last year, the council held a work session to discuss that request. On September 9th, council attended a meeting hosted by the Talbot Association of Clergy and Laity on the community conversation on the Talbot Boys statute held at the Talbot County Library. And then again on October 27th, the council hosted a public comment session at the library. And on November 24th at the regular council meeting, President Pack announced the council's decision to leave the existing statute in place and accept the recommendation of the NAACP in part to permit the erection of a monument commemorating Union soldiers from Talbot County who fought in the Civil War. So this matter has been placed on today's agenda for whatever additional discussion council may wish to add and for a formal motion and vote on the question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pullen, for that historical recap. If council will permit me, I do just have some brief comments that I just want to read for the record. And these are my own comments. These are have not been circulated to council or to staff. So these are just what my observation over the last several months have brought me to regarding this subject. Over the last several weeks since we received the opinion from the Open Meetings Compliance Board, I have been mulling over in my mind the decision reached by this council last November. Whether we fully grasped the nature of the NAACP's recommendation and had a deep appreciation of the outcome of our decision. My contemplation was not one of regret or reconsideration, but to explore fully the context of what was before us. One outcome that I reached was the undeniable act that war is horrific and full of death and destruction. And unless one is a necromonger, there is no joy nor delight one can get from war. So it was from the ashes of war that I felt my thoughts drifting to the cries and screams of Nazi Germany's concentration camps in Europe. According to the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum, researchers found that the Nazis established about 20,000 camps between 1933 and 1945. These forced labor and extermination camps were the scene of mass murder the world had never witnessed before. It was estimated that some 500,000 concentration camp prisoners survived when liberated by Allied troops. But they were mere shadow of the proud people they once were. They were now physically beaten and mentally broken, crippled by the horrors of their experience. The total easily exceeds 2,750,000 people killed in the SS-controlled death camps in Europe. Yet in the face of so great suffering and death, many of the extermination camps still remain today as stark reminders of the devastation mankind can inflict upon one another. And it is surprisingly, many concentration camp survivors spoke out the loudest that the camp should not be removed, but remain as a living testimony to what was done here, lest the world forgets. No war in the 20th century was more controversial than the Vietnam War. It was protested on nearly every American campus from Kent State in Ohio to Berkeley in California. Those returning soldiers did not receive ticker tape parades like their World War I and World War II brothers. There was no timeless kiss in Times Square, no yellow ribbons awaiting their return. For Vietnam veterans, there was only shouts of baby killer, rapist, arson, and murder. The late great Muhammad Ali refused to serve and forfeited his heavyweight title and lost millions in prize money. He was revered by many and despised by others because of his stance. Even the Vietnam Memorial in Washington, D.C. was heavily debated as lingering controversy over the war had not waned in the decades since the last troops left the battlefield in 1973. Yes, war is terrible, yet at times an unfortunate and necessary evil. The Civil War, this great battle between the states which pitted brother against brother, also had its share of horror. It is a fact that more Americans died in the Civil War alone than all other American wars combined. In 1958, the U.S. Congress passed a bill granting Confederate soldiers equal distinction as veterans as their Union counterparts. Currently, the remains of Confederate soldiers are buried at the National Soldiers' Home near Washington, D.C., as well as some 150 Confederate remains are now buried in the National Cemetery at Arlington, Virginia. The 59th Congress of the United States authorized the furnishing of headstones for the graves of Confederate buried in federal cemeteries. One congressman remarked, "This act formally reaffirms Confederate soldiers as military combatants with legal standing. It grants recognition to deceased Confederate soldiers equal with the status of deceased Union soldiers. The Talbot Boys statue, which turned 100 years old last month in May, is a monument to those 84 Americans who fought and died in armed conflict. Yet it is also a reminder of the dark pains of this nation's history. Like war, slavery has touched nearly every part of the globe since the beginning of civilization. It's nothing to be proud of or boast about, but the fact remains that humans have enslaved one another. But the Talbot Boys statue is not promoting slavery nor the values of the Confederacy. It's memorializing young men of Talbot County who fought in battle and died. The Talbot Boys statue is a part of the history of Talbot County, and removing it weakens that story. The Talbot Boys, along with the Union soldiers, Frederick Douglass, the White House, the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, the town that fooled the British, and the newly discovered Hill community in Easton, all tell the history of Talbot County, good, bad, and the ugly. If every time we remove a statue, a monument, or a book because it offended us, there would be nothing left. Some have said that statues and monuments are symbolic and stir emotions of the observer, and that's fine. We all should be moved and inspired to ensure that the horrors of war and genocide and slavery never happen again. But tearing down monuments or casting them off into a closet benefits no one. So I applaud those brave men and women who survived the concentration camps, who had the courage to say, no, let the camps remain. Let the world see what was done here. For a people who forgets the mistakes of their past are yet doomed to repeat them. Thank you, Council, for allowing me to take this time, and I'll now open up for further questions.
Well, I just have a short statement to make. I know that in the meetings we had with the NAACP and other programs that we did as a council, many of us expressed our opinions very bluntly, and they are a matter of record. I think we handled this issue as well as any council could in terms of trying to be open to the public, garnering as much information from outside of the public that we could. We got books. We got college theses that were done about the unveiling of the Frederick Douglass statue, as an example. Incredible records of the time when we unveiled that statue. We got plenty of letters from family members of those on the statue, and plenty of letters about the Civil War and the meaning of the Civil War. And I just want to say that we took the time to hear from all parts of the community. And it was very disappointing to us to get the decision of the Open Meetings Compliance Board. And it's a technical issue that I think the council needs to respond to. There is no appeal of the Open Meetings Compliance Board, so we will never know whether that decision was correct or not, as there is no adjudication to follow. We have in the record our comments from our county attorney of what he thought was our role in this process, and we have the ACLU and the NAACP on their side of the ledger and what they thought we should have done. But what was disappointing to us was that the decision of the Open Meetings Compliance Board said that basically on the one issue of the removal of the Talbot Boys statue, because we did not have legislation on the books that concerned removal of statues, and I can't imagine many places do, that particular item of the three requested items, the other two being the establishment of a commission and the erection of a joint Union Confederate statue, those two items, and the one item over here, we did not have legislation, the removal of the statue. And because of that item, they declared that our discussions about everything should have been in the open. And I believe that this council made a deliberate effort to have discussions in the open. You only need to see the tape of the meeting we had with the NAACP. You only had to read the articles that we wrote to the paper, guest comments and things like that. We were on the record of what we felt, I think, from the very beginning of this discussion. And I believe we gave everyone the opportunity to participate. Corey, I think your statement today is remarkable. It shows a worldview that I think is admirable, and it acknowledges the history that we have in Talbot County, albeit torturous in many ways, the stories that we have to be told here, and we can celebrate our history in Talbot County. We do have a very rich history, from the area of the Hill to the Unionville, the Union soldiers who fought on the Union side, the 18 who are buried in the little church cemetery in Unionville. All of the things, Frederick Douglass' birthplace, Wye House is still here. You can see a full-fledged plantation. As bad as slavery was, there is an historical record here that can be told. We should take advantage of that. The NAACP and Talbot County Council, and I know our tourism department, is already highlighting the story of Talbot County. And many people come from around the country to see what we have to offer here and to take advantage of all of these stories and to learn about the history of our forefathers in Talbot County. So I think that the Open Meetings Compliance Board decision, we have to abide by it, because there is no appeal. And so therefore, we will vote on the issue today in public. At the time we did this before, there was no dissension. Corey wrote a very good letter. We reviewed it. We tweaked it as a council. There was no dissension about what to do about that statute from any 5 of us on this podium. And therefore, there was no need for a vote. We had a statement that was submitted in the November 24th hearing, and we felt that we had together as a county council addressed this issue. Unless there's anyone else who'd like to say something.
Ms. Price?
Just very briefly, I do agree. I think that there has been open discussion, definitely starting back in July, when I think most things were said, and I don't think anybody's opinion has wavered since July. But we felt that it was important that we attended the other meetings, the one put on by Tackle and the one that we hosted. And I think most of the council members, spoke and gave their opinion on the subject. And something that I've always tried to do as a council member elected by the people is for my votes not to reflect what I believe. I mean, there's some of that in there, but the important thing as an elected official is to reflect the will of the people. And it was overwhelming, the support to leave the statue, where it was. We need to preserve it, and we have a responsibility to acknowledge history and learn from it and not change it. If we remove the statue, then I think that we deny that history as well as the lessons that it teaches us. And I'm just going to keep it short and succinct like that, because I think that Corey and Dirk have expressed very beautifully how this council feels, and that we were never trying to hide anything from anybody. We listened. We appreciate both sides. We're in a situation that you're never going to make everybody happy. I think we all know that as elected officials. If you make one side happy, then you make the other side mad. And the best we can do is to reflect the will of the people and the response and the things that they said to us over the last nearly a year now. Thank you.
There's no...
And I'll say something for you real quick, too. First of all, Corey, that was a great written speech. And Dirk, I really appreciate what you've said, too, and so do you, Laura. I hope after today that we can move forward and put all this behind us, learn from it, and, you know, just basically work as togetherness and, you know, unite as a county and move forward with all this stuff. So I just hope after this that, you know, we can all sort of feel we've done the right thing. We are elected officials. I feel like we have a responsibility not to each other's feelings, but to a county and to all the people that we represent. So other than that, I really appreciate the respect that some people got different views, and I respect all that. And I'm glad you guys were all here today representing, you know, all your thoughts and stuff like that. And I just want to tell you thanks a lot for showing up and giving your support to everybody. Thank you.
I'd just like to echo what really, particularly what President Pack said. I think it was an excellent statement. I think it really spoke to what we have, as a council, have been looking at. This is part of the history of this county, the history of this country, and we can't deny that history. I appreciate all the information that has been shared with us over the past year. We've received a tremendous number of emails. As Mr. Bartlett stated, we've got theses, we've gotten books, we've gotten articles from historical journals, and it's really been helpful. We've all learned an awful lot, and we've considered it, and we've really, I believe every member of this council has given this a great deal of thought, and probably we all feel a lot better educated on the subject of that statute today than we did a year ago. I'd like to hope that we can go forward from today, and that the energy and the enthusiasm that individuals on both sides of this question have brought to this table can be joined. Because right now, whether we like to admit it or not, there is slavery in this country, in this state, and very likely in this county. And it would be delightful to see the energy that's gone into this matter be redirected to try to prevent and to try to help those who are enslaved in this state today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Williamson. If nothing further, the chair would entertain a motion at this time.
I would move that the existing Talbot Boys statue remain in its existing location, that the decision announced at the County Council meeting on November 24th, 2015 be affirmed, and that no commission be appointed at this time.
Second?
Motion made by Mr. Bartlett, second by Mrs. Price. Any further discussion on the motion? I would just say one thing in closing before we take our vote, and that is no matter what the outcome of this vote, we have always wanted to allow open dialogue no matter what the issue may be. There are many times when groups bring things to this council, before this council, that do not go in favor of that particular group. But that does not mean that there won't be other issues or other times for us to sit down and continue working. There are many issues to be dealt with here in Talbot County, and we need everyone in the boat, everyone working together to have this county to be as successful as it possibly can. We just went through, as Ms. Verdi pointed out, a 2-year process, more like a 4-year process on our comprehensive plan that we finally got through today, and we still have more work to do. So fear not, there's always work to be done. There's always time to be heard, and don't allow this one issue to resonate with you that there's never anything else that you can come back and talk with this council or work with this council about, because I think that would be a mistake. So that's my last parting comment. We have a motion, we have a second. There's no further comment. Madam Secretary, on the motion, before us, call the roll.
Mr. Pack?
Aye.
Ms. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Bartlett?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Okay. Anything further, council?